focus during these discussions. And we also know that the technological advances associated with the shipboard carbon capture will also assist in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So let's also look at carbon captures technologies which are available. So we have our expert give more insight into carbon capture, how we can do it safely, how we can do that how we can have that carbon capture on board ships in India. All right. So so looking at the international perspective for the shipping, and just to give you an overview. And we have, there are many projects around the world, the new builds which has been ordered. So if you look at the order book, the LNG, the dual fuel as an alternate fuel, which nominate in the order book about 559 ships, which is about 58% of the global order book are LNG dual fuel vessel. And methanol interests are also increasing, particularly in the container shipping segment. And there are 33 methanol-ready vessels which are under order, and 11 ethanol-capable vessels which are under order. And cargo as fuel, for example, propane, butane, and ethane. And that's becoming very popular in LNG carriers. And ammonia readiness is also appearing, providing the question what we have is when we're going to have the first ammonia fuel engine ready. And we have got about 86 projects going on around the world with the ammonia fuel projects. So these are all for the deep sea shipping. And so here, coming back home here from international scenario, I would request the panelists to look into home here, look at the alternate fuel technologies which are available for coastal shipping, particularly on text passenger ship and utility craft, offshore vessels, cargo ships. And also let's look at what's the traction we get from electrical technologies and as well as the solar power, and also the latest development in fuel cells. We can leverage that, and let's also look at the economic option of retrofitting our existing ship in a bid to decarbonizations. Yeah. So it's a time for me to turn to the panelists here. And what I would request them is to, they all have international experience. They can share us the trends, what's happening around the world in the international perspective, and then they can share how we can adopt those green technologies back home here in India, locally, in different shipyards and states and locations in India. What I would also request them is that when we adopt the green technologies, there is also a requirement to have to develop the skill set which are required to adopt these technologies. So I would also request them to reflect on the skill set aspect. Yeah. So may I go to my first panelist here, Sachin Kulkarni from WARTSILA Shipping. WARTSILA engine builders, propulsion system manufacturers, and they got multiple portfolios of propulsion systems, not just the main engine, but also the propellers, hybrid propulsions, energy-saving devices. So I would request Sachin to give us an insight, the trends, what's happening in the propulsion, various propulsion system area, including the energy-saving devices, and touch upon the skill set what is required. Over to you, Sachin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the question and the context set for the discussion. Addressing to the point which has been raised about the international experience and the best practices and how we can bring those here, especially the question was more on the coastal shipping as such. So when we see this area, recent order activity in the short sea segment, what we have seen is that a clear movement of away from the classic example of propulsion system with a main engine, single main engine, and fixed pitch propeller. So that's a classic traditional solution, and moving towards more on the hybridized and electrified propulsion solution combined with alternative fuels, which provides the owner more flexibility as such when it comes to technology adaptation as well as the creating the foundation for the future. Now, when we see this, what basically is required over here is that there are when we say coastal shipping, what type of operation profile of the ship when we look at. So typically, when we see this hybrid or electrified propulsion system, what kind of a profile we kind of see where it's more suitable or applicable, and that's where we look at vessels which has basically changing load requirements, which needs a lot of maneuvering and DP time. And when we say coastal shipping, that's where we see a lot of relevance from there. We also see more application from the perspective of low noise and low space requirements. And when you have such requirements, the solution which we are looking at right now are more suitable are electrical solutions. And that means we talk about diesel-electric propulsion system, we talk about hybrid systems, wherein we are basically looking at energy storage, which can serve as a spinning reserve and take out the basically auxiliary engine out of the equation of bringing the carbon footprint lesser on board, and the peak shaving and things like that. When we look at this kind of application, we see a lot of connection over here. When we look at inland waterways, which was also another point, so for that type of ships, we see all electric solution, wherein we look at vessels like small pilot boats or the river ferries, where the power demand is small and the vessels are engaged in short routes as such. When we say this hybridized or the electrified propulsion system, how does typically it work? So we all are used to having the main engine and the fixed pitch propulsion system as our traditional thinking. Instead, now we are talking about CPP and gearbox and PTI and PTO functionality via batteries, wherein the energy is supplied both auxiliary and propulsion power. And this setup basically makes decoupling of main engine from the CPP and operate the vessel solely on battery power, especially when entering and exiting port, eliminating emissions entirely. When we see this, not only supplying equipment is important, it's also important that the integration of the systems, because each system has interface with another system. And that's where we look at the full integration, especially which helps the designers as well as the shipyards, especially when the project takes off and at the new build stage or even the retrofit stage, I would say. This really helps them for the reliability of the delivery and the lower overall cost. When we bring this technology for the application here, the one important thing is to really look at and studied is the operation profile of the vessel. I think that's something which is very, very important to understand. And to do that and to bring this change or to bring this technology here, a couple of things which really one is to understand. Certain mindset shifting. I think, as I said, that has been traditionally we are doing certain way of vessel design and construction, and that kind of a shift is required. However, while that's happening, how do we encourage owners to kind of enable that? And that's where the policy on the evaluation criteria is very, very important. And that means traditionally when we are talking about the L1 criteria, it's high time that we look at along with the price, we also bring the emission as the criteria and also technology. So the idea could be then to move away from typical L1 outlook to more of L1, E1 and T1 outlook, wherein we can achieve this kind of adaptation to technology and also enable the ship owners to take such decisions as such. When it comes to energy saving devices, along with this propulsion system, one could also look at the solution what typically we talk about get rudder or the enogoprophene, which is more of a post-hole devices, which brings the efficiency up of the propulsion system. That also adds to the efficiency of the vessel as such. And as far as solar is concerned, yes, that's another thing which in my earlier session also I was presenting, that the solar, when the space is available on board, especially the bulkers and all that, so there is a clear application of solar plus hybrid, wherein we could basically take the benefit of the solar, which is free power, and then storing it on board and supplying it as and when there is a requirement. So in short, there are technologies available, and they are perfectly suitable for the application which we talked about. However, it needs certain amount of support on the policy and as well as the adaptation from the owner side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sachin, for that brief update. You mentioned about hybrid propulsions for coastal shipping, inland waterways. Yeah, I look at the operational profile aspect. Yeah, when we go for alternate technology, obviously it is capital intensive. The capex will definitely go up. Not just the capex, even OPEX would go up, and the estimates what we have at the moment with respect to OPEX is about 50 to 55% increase in the current OPEX. That's kind of an estimate we have, and this is when we are not quite clear about how much the technology cost, how much the fuel cost. Thank you, Sachin, for that. So now I'll turn to the next panelist, Santosh Kumar from MAN. Santosh, based on your experience, particularly operating on vessels on fuels like methanol, for example, for medium-speed vessels, and what the kind of trends you see internationally, or how we can adopt that back home here in India, and also if you can touch upon the skill set that need to be developed for adopting this technology. Santosh, over to you. Yeah.
Hello. First and foremost, thank you on behalf of MAN, the chair, and IMEA for giving us an opportunity to discuss on this particular topic over here. I'll go from the global level to in the domestic level. Today, MAN has already taken 1,000 engines for methanol, LGIM, which is already in operation and being available worldwide. Most of the licensees are already having methanol engines, and it's been operational worldwide. Apart from this, MAN is also working on ammonia as a fuel. The first engine for ammonia will be available by 2025. The plan is already there, it is on time, and it is as per the schedule which is going on. But these are all for the bigger size vessels which are being in operation. Apart from this, MAN is also now into high-speed engines. We have the highest powered high-speed engine for tugs, for offshore application, passenger vessels like that type. That is 4,400, which nobody else has. Next, I come to India perspective. In India, we have a production unit in Aurangabad where we make the small bore engines, that is 2131 and 2738. These engines, the reason I'm coming to this particular topic is why in India. MAN India is actually a 100% subsidiary of MAN Germany. So these engines are exclusively made only in India for the world. And 2131, which is the engine, is already been approved for all type of biofuels. This engine is also coming out with methanol as a fuel by 2024. We are also in discussion with various other stakeholders for the first engine if it comes to India also. So if tomorrow methanol as a fuel comes with this kind of a 4-stroke engine, that will be the first one in India which will be in operational. From the service perspective, yes, in Aurangabad itself, we have around 1,000 people working for the global MAN business line. That is with the design, entire design of MAN, the FEM analyzers, FE analyzers, round the clock. They are working in three different units. And for the entire group, these people are working. So technologically, people are available in India who are doing these kind of system for the world. Service-wise, we are already having another 4 units all over in India, which can cater even to Andaman and Nicobar, because this was a question whether service availability is there in India. So we have already started workshop in Cochin. We are starting a workshop in Vizag, shortly in Mundra. We have in Mumbai. We have a very big unit in Baroda, which caters to the entire Indian segment. This is for the entire of MAN equipments. We are not only into engines, the entire propulsion system also has been catered to Indian society. I think I have been answering to most of your questions. Anything else apart from this?
Yeah, thank you, Santosh, for your insight. Yeah, I'll turn to my next panelist, Gopalakrishna from Volvo Penta. Particularly the experience you gained from smaller engines. What do you think that how we can adopt those alternate fuel, alternate technology adoption in India? And again, on the skill set when we're talking about is not just for the manufacturing the engines and components, and also using those alternate technology, alternate fuel engines on board the ship. What kind of skills get upgradations are required? Yeah. How about you, Gopalakrishna?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm audible? Yeah. Good. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for INMARCO for me to invite in this forum. Thank you very much on behalf of Volvo Group. As a Volvo company, our core values are quality, safety, and environment care. And this company being more than 100 years, so the innovation is in our DNA. Always we focus on environment care. So therefore, for currently to precisely answer to the chairman's question, that we have strategy to adapt that perform and transform. The existing equipments need to continue. It cannot be immediately replaced with high technology because cost is involved. And how to focus on transformation for the future generation. This is how Volvo Group is working into the new technologies. Volvo Group being the global company, we are operating in 130 countries. So it is not easy to have a